welcome to the 12th episode in our AI and You podcast series. Today is Tuesday, September 29th, 2020, and I'm your host, Vikhar Saidi. I'm a computer scientist, an engineer, a lecturer, and a consultant. I'm also the author of several books. My most recent book is about artificial intelligence and is titled The Genome Affair. The Genome Affair is a work of speculative fiction. It examines what the world might be like if some of the more extraordinary capabilities forecast to be realized in AI over the next 20 to 30 years were actually realized today. Given the growing list of frightening existential threats humankind now faces, the book pays particular attention to the impact AI is expected to have on world affairs. The book is available in ebook format for those who prefer to read on a digital device, but it's also available in a high-quality paperback edition. The Genome Affair is available on Amazon, so I hope you'll take the time to read it and to leave a review. Book reviews are very helpful for writers. I'm available to give talks on artificial intelligence and its related technologies, and on the impact AI is expected to have on our world. If you'd like to get in touch with me to arrange a web-based event or consulting meeting with your company or organization, you can find my contact info in the podcast notes below. And now, on to today's podcast. In our last podcast, episode 11, I spoke about ethics, law, and society as it relates to artificial intelligence. In today's podcast, episode 12, I'll be talking about artificial intelligence in lethal autonomous weapons systems. Let's get started. One dystopian scenario, often cited by those who fear the proliferation of AI, is its use in military applications, specifically a category of weapons known as lethal autonomous weapons systems. This is a distressing scenario as it relates to hostile engagement with an enemy, often using unmanned technologies that are designed to make kill decisions without human intervention. In these scenarios, human intervention may not be possible, since AI agents need to make instantaneous decisions based upon real-time scenarios unfolding on the field of battle. These agents make their decisions based upon predictive analytics performed on large volumes of data, a process beyond the scope of human intelligence, information processing capacity, or speed. On the 5th of January 2020, cadets at a military academy in Tripoli, Libya, were marching outside their barracks when they were struck by a Chinese-manufactured Blue Arrow 7 missile fired from a Wing Loon 2 unmanned combat aerial vehicle, a UCAV, or drone. The Wing Loon 2 is the Chinese equivalent of a U.S. Predator drone, and as just mentioned, it fired the Blue Arrow 7 missile that detonated in the center of the group. 26 young men, many just teenage boys, were left dead or dying. A number of these young men's bodies were left dismembered by the missile strike, an extraordinary calamity given that they were all unarmed. As late as August of 2020, no one had claimed responsibility for the deadly attack. But following an examination of shrapnel found at the scene, the BBC was able to determine that regional powers that were backing opponents of the Libyan group controlling this base initiated this deadly and horrific strike. Further, they did so in an extremely clandestine manner, using unmanned, unmarked, lethal weapons that were subsequently moved from their initial launch site and command and control center. The civil war in Libya has left a large civilian population terrified, vulnerable, and at the mercy of what is now the largest and most prolific theater for the cultivation and experimentation of drone warfare anywhere in the world. Some of the drones in use in the Libyan theater can invisibly loiter for as long as 24 hours at 24,000 feet as they insidiously hunt their target. They can carry laser-guided missiles, they can use thermal imaging, and they can jam mobile phone signals. As is clear from the Libyan story, we have now crossed the threshold of a new frontier in human history. We are now deploying heavily armed, long-distance, unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, that are capable of delivering weapons that result in a tremendous loss of life. These strikes leave little evidence of who was responsible and are creating a nightmare for agencies tasked with holding states and rogue actors accountable. As artificial intelligence penetrates the weapons arsenal of state and non-state actors, the task of holding perpetrators responsible will only become more difficult. It's important to realize that autonomous killing using artificial intelligence is not a technical issue. It is not science fiction. The technical challenge has already been overcome. Autonomous killing is now an ethical and legal matter that falls in the domain of international law, such as the Geneva Convention of 1864. In the past, weapons were simply carrying out the orders of humans. But they are now capable of making the decision themselves. In fact, robots with machine gun and grenade launch capabilities have been monitoring the demilitarized zone, the DMZ, between North and South Korea for the past 10 years. Although currently under the control of South Korean military officers, these robots have the power to kill without human intervention. So now, the challenge is how we will teach the embodied AI in the robot to know the difference between what is lawful and what is ethically right. Through extensive machine learning, AI can judge the ethical and moral issues, as well as legal compliance with international humanitarian and human rights law before deciding whether to kill. But who will be held accountable if and when something goes wrong? Who will be responsible for the unintended consequences? Are we crossing a moral line? Have we entered an AI-enabled lethal autonomous weapons arms race? Many scientists and technologists in this domain, whose skills are essential for progress in this 21st century arms race, are raising ethical questions and are refusing to participate in government contracts for such weapon systems and related technologies awarded to their companies. Some of these technologists designed a robot known as Big Dog at Boston Dynamics. Its function was to serve as a pack mule, to carry supplies for soldiers. But now we see that Big Dog might easily be weaponized. There are at least 130 military systems in place today that can autonomously track targets, including air defense systems, loitering munitions that surreptitiously hide in the skies above, and sentries at borders that can use cameras and thermal imaging to fulfill their objectives. Unlike biological, chemical, or nuclear weapons, lethal autonomous weapons can be made cheaply from widely available parts. They are easily hacked and can quickly fall into the wrong hands. They are easy and cheap to build, and they are highly scalable. Once the arms race in lethal autonomous weapon systems begins, it will be irreversible. Richard Gatling invented the Gatling gun during the American Civil War to reduce battlefield casualties, but his technology had the opposite effect. Only 4 soldiers were now required to fire the same number of rounds that previously required 100 soldiers. Advancements in warfare have historically served to only increase casualties and destruction. The campaign to stop killer robots at Human Rights Watch has indicated that America, China, Israel, Russia, South Korea, and the UK are actively developing lethal autonomous weapon systems for battlefield use. All the exciting technologies we use every day to search, shop, or unlock our phones with facial recognition are at least in part being weaponized. Driverless car technology is now appearing in Russian tanks. The Chinese Navy has a mini Aegis-class destroyer that operates without any sailors. As a result, many AI and robotics researchers are lobbying for a global ban on the development of these lethal autonomous weapon systems. Today, 30 countries, 100 NGOs, the European Parliament, 21 Nobel laureates, numerous leading scientists, technologists, and thought leaders, including Elon Musk, Noam Chomsky, Stephen Hawking, and 4,500 other AI and robotics researchers are in favor of a ban on these extremely dangerous autonomous weapons. But unfortunately, diplomacy and technology move according to very different schedules. The 6 key countries developing these systems have argued at the United Nations in Geneva that their august body cannot regulate that which doesn't yet exist. Their strategy is clear. They seek to delay any autonomous weapons regulation by arguing over definitions, and in the meantime, to continue developing them until the reality makes the regulatory discussion moot. In this conflict between diplomacy and technology, it is clear that tech is winning. On September 9, 2020, during a meeting at the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, DARPA, Defense Secretary Mark Espy announced that the DoD will conduct a dogfight between 2 F-16 fighter jets in 2024. One jet will be piloted by a human, and the second by artificial intelligence. The DoD has simulated dogfights with AI many times, and AI has already been shown to be far superior to the human. This time, though, the superiority will be confirmed in a real-world setting. AI has emerged as central to the Pentagon's 21st century military strategy, and this event is expected to mark a major milestone in the Pentagon's transition to AI-enabled, lethal autonomous weapon systems in all fields of battle. Unless there is a dramatic change, it seems that the progress and battlefield reality of lethal autonomous weapon systems is in the offing. Thank you for spending some time with me. I'm trying to follow the TED Talk format, and so I'm keeping these podcasts to about 20 minutes. Let me know what you think. I hope you'll find these insights into artificial intelligence helpful, and I hope you'll read my new book, The Genome Affair. It's on Amazon. Until next time, then, this has been the AI and You podcast with author Vicar Saidi.